Right, so let's get on to this week's content, and we're going to be talking about empathy. And I want to start off by sharing a vid with you, which is an awesome vid from Brené Brown. And then we're going to get a wee bit deeper. Let's do it. Is it going to work? Here we go. We haven't got audio, but I will add mine very soon.
Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Awesome. So, yeah, I'll share some thoughts. So, don't just do something, stand there. I love that. I think it's an old Taoist Buddhist phrase. Don't just do something, stand there. So often, we have this desire to fix and to want to soothe people. And I notice myself when friends or family are in conflict, I'm like, Mum, Dad, just read this book that I've been reading in this Taoist text and all your problems will be fixed. I'm wanting to jump in and to help, which is a good intention to have, but actually it can lead to some negative effects where people don't feel seen and they don't feel heard. They feel like when they are trying to be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm not feeling very well, or this is troubling me, if we immediately go to fixing or negating, like, oh, don't worry, things will be better tomorrow, or, yeah, you think that's bad, I've felt so much worse, you should be grateful, or going into strategizing, all right, so what can we do about making you feel better again? These responses can be appropriate in time, but actually empathy invites us to just simply see and hear and be present with the person in front of us so that they can express their truth, they can express their heart's space, their feelings, and this is powerful. So the key ingredient of empathy is presence. Is to simply extend presence to the person in front of us. So instead of noticing that desire to fix and wanting to jump in and just pausing, noticing that in yourself. And just, okay, I'm actually just going to give the gift of presence. It is a gift. And just allow this person to talk. if you feel that you've got the emotional space to be able to hold space for another. And Zhuangzi talks about this. So Zhuangzi is the second Taoist philosopher, writing in 300 BC. I'll give you some time to read this. This is quite a cool quote, talking about whole being listening, how listening isn't just listening with your ears or listening with your mind, but the hearing of the spirit is not limited to any one faculty. And so it demands the emptiness of all faculties. When the faculties are empty, then the whole being listens. And when the whole being listens, this brings a new form of listening, which is powerful. There's a direct grasp of what is right there before you that can never be heard with the ear or understood with the mind. So some awesome words from Zhuangzi there, talking about the power of presence. So if we listen with our ears or thinking with our minds, trying to fix, then actually we miss quite a lot. And actually if we just empty ourselves and trust that our presence can be valuable and as a gift, then we understand the subtleties that we could not possibly have understood by just listening with our ears or with our minds. And the person feels that. You'll know that when you give the gift of presence to others, well, you'll know when you receive it. If someone's on their phone, you feel disconnected. If somebody's really present with you, holding space with you, that is powerful. So don't just do something, stand there. And so something to remember. And I noticed the tendency in myself to try and want to fix people. And when do you move from empathy to helping? Maybe when there's a change in emotion. So a person just really wants to express themselves and just giving them the space to express themselves. And so then maybe once they feel expressed, their emotion changes and you feel a sense of change. Another thing you may notice when there's been enough empathy is that there's a natural pause and the person feels like they've been seen and they've been heard. And extending empathy is something that you need to use your wisdom to know if you've got space, emotional space, to be able to hold space for others. And so maybe, it's within your rights to say, hey, I really do want to find a time for you to express yourself, and I'm grateful that you are wanting to share this with me, but right now I don't feel that well resourced and tired, and I've had some conflict myself, and I invite us to maybe do this another time, or this actually isn't right for me to receive at the moment. So that's within your power to also have that kind, compassionate no. Knowing your boundaries, knowing your energy. But playing with empathy, playing with that as a something to extend to others in your relationships, and to hold space with kindness and compassion, and to see how that can be transformational for your conflicts and for your relationships. So, any thoughts or questions on empathy? Let me know. Any contributions? Empathy from Lonely Feather is about giving the other person the room to express themselves. So hard not to fix from Joyce. It feels like the right thing to do, but it's evident when I'm in the position of needing empathy how much sympathy doesn't really help. And the difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is feeling with, sympathy is feeling for. So sympathy is, I feel so sorry for you, that's rubbish. Empathy is, that's painful and I've been there. That sucks. So to just hold that space and to also connect within you that feeling. So it may be a different situation, but that feeling that you had, that person is having. Cassandra shares that she's always trying to fix things for other people and get stressed herself. And that's a beautiful intention to want to be of value to others and to help. Also knowing our boundaries, and also knowing that just simply being present is often enough, and we don't need to fix, and simply just being with the other person is all they needed, just to be seen and to be heard. Is there ever a situation where you shouldn't practice empathy? Interesting question. I'd say that this is your wisdom journey to know if actually your boundaries require you to not step into empathy. So it could be that there's somebody who's triggering you. So it could be you're having a conflict in a workplace, and this person that you've had conflict with is now sharing their stuff, and actually it's triggering anger in you, and you don't feel that you're going to respond with wisdom. And so just, kindly just saying, hey, this isn't the right time for me. And I want to find a time where we can talk about this. So that is something that you're going to have to work out for yourself is, where are my boundaries? When is the wrong time? And when can I just give that kind, compassionate, not right now? All right, go to one more question and then we'll go to Zoom if you'd like to join for some movement and some meditation. But I'm going to go up to a question higher up because I think there's some interesting ones that I just got from General Kenobi. So if you don't mind me asking, how does Taoism approach mental illness like depression? Is it a natural state that we should accept, or is it an imbalance that needs to be resolved? So in Taoism, how do they approach things like depression? Is it a natural state, or is it an imbalance? So first of all, I like to distinguish between the Tao and Taoism. So Tao is the word for the way of nature. And so we don't just need to go to Taoist texts to understand the Tao. Psychology and therapy and science can help us understand nature, right? Our ways of nature. And we don't need science to tell us that suffering is a part of being human. And the Buddha talked about that a lot. Suffering is not something that makes you uniquely messed up. I used to, when I was having anxiety in my time when I first started my spiritual journey of, George, you shouldn't be anxious, you're weak for being anxious. Suffering is a pretty common part of the human experience. And when we start meditation as well, having a busy mind, and you may think you haven't got a brain that's meant for meditation. And that's a story that I used to tell myself. And again, no, we have struggles that are common to our human experience. And so depression is an acute form of suffering where we can feel lost or hopeless, and we may feel drained, grief-stricken, listless. And there may be times throughout our lives where depression is a natural response, so for example, the passing of a loved one, that grief. We see grief in monkeys and elephants. Elephants, we've found some amazing behavior where a member of the troop will die, and then the other elephants will go back to the dead body of their loved one and one by one spend time touching the body in silence. And the troop will go and eat and then come back to the body, and they will do this over a period of days. And so that's evidence for this complex emotional life that they have and experiencing what we would likely call grief. Jane Goodall, another example, saw a chimpanzee whose mother died, and the young son was so grief-stricken that the young son stopped eating, and then within 2 days had died, and the young son was otherwise perfectly healthy. And so again, if we're not just going to deny the intelligence of the other animals, that seems like that monkey died from grief, what we would call grief. Obviously the monkey grief is different. And so intense, painful emotions that last over time, that can be damaging, is part of our nature. So that is part of our Tao. Taoism, however, offers a path to harmony and to joy. So chapter 1 of Zhuangzi's book is Carefree Living or Joyful Living, and Taoism offers a path to joy and carefree living. So although we can honour if we are not feeling where we would perhaps want to be in another time of our lives, if we're feeling down and depressed, then honouring that, this is where I'm at, and it's part of being human is to struggle. But to really understand our nature and to work in harmony with our Tao is to be able to flow through that pain. So we get stuck in our grief and our anxiety and our sadness, and we live in ways that don't nurture us, and so then we have less energy, and so then again we can get stuck. And so Taoism, through us understanding ourselves better and through the practices of Qigong and meditation and Tai Chi and healthy eating and looking at ourselves holistically, empowering ourselves to take charge of our wellness, empowering ourselves to look at ourselves in terms of relationship, so community and society are an important part of our flourishing. If we do these things, then indeed joy and happiness are available to us. And so that's that dynamic movement towards something more peaceful, something more harmonious. As always, gratitude to be with you. Always a privilege and pleasure. So yeah.